Hey everybody, it's Jake Mace, the vegan athlete. I'm here in the backyard garden, and it's a beautiful season in the Phoenix area because the weather's starting to cool down. It's in the mid 90s now, and it's going to be in the high 80s next week. If you live in the deserts of Phoenix, Arizona like I do, this season, the fall, and on into about May of next year becomes the best month for growing your garden, both your fruit trees and your garden. And behind me, check this out. This is all the Egyptian spinach, and all these leaves are edible. So what I find myself doing, that this is so delicious, I think that this Egyptian spinach, also called molokhia, is much more delicious than Swiss chard is, just for me. Swiss chard's got a little bit of a salty taste to it. This is just tender and nice, and it grows all through the summer. It's a plant that loves the heat. And look at how big this is. I mean, I'm over 6 feet tall, and this guy is probably pushing 8, 9 feet tall. And believe it or not, this was a little tiny itsy bitsy green seed back in April. And so from seed to this in about 6 months. It's an incredible plant, and it loves the heat. It won't even start growing well till the heat hits it. So, I've turned into a cow. I just graze in the garden. One of the coolest things about my garden in its current state is that I've got a pretty good system for the irrigation, for watering my raised beds, in addition to watering my fruit trees. So in this video today, I want to show you guys a little bit about how I water. Watering your garden, watering your fruit trees, watering your raised beds, watering your cactus or your succulents can be a little bit of an art form. And watering is also unique to your property because everybody's soil and microclimate, everyone's property is going to take a little bit of a different watering system. So let me show you guys what I do. I'll show you a couple different examples, and I hope this video will be meaningful to you and it will help you in your garden, both with your garden and your fruit trees. And if it's helpful, hit the like button for me, check out my Urban Gardening in Arizona Facebook group, and subscribe to my Vegan Athlete YouTube channel. You can also get some gardening stuff from us at my website, jakemace.com. I wanted to first show you guys this tree right here. This is a desert ironwood, a native to the Phoenix area, and these guys can live for 1,000 years. This guy is literally 6 years old. I bought him when he was 1 year old in a 1-gallon pot, and he's grown from a 1-gallon pot, I think he was about 8 to 10 inches tall, into this 12 to 15 foot monster in just a 5-year period. The cool thing about this kind of tree is that it's a native tree to the Phoenix area, so I really don't have to water it. I did water it the first 6 months when it was a baby and it was getting used to the hole. I just used the hose. I would fill the hole up, and when it was filled up, I'd stop watering it, and it was good to go. But in the last few years, I really haven't watered this guy at all. I've just let the native rains of Phoenix, which usually don't come that often. So I think I've watered this guy probably 2 or 3 times over the past 4 years. Okay, only about once a year. And usually I water him at a time about this, October 1st. We've had a very dry summer. For some reason, my house here in Tempe, Arizona, has been a microclimate that hasn't gotten very much monsoon rain. Let me take my glasses off here. And so I want you guys to take note of how I do water this guy when I water him about once a year, because we've had about 3-4 months now of no rain. And so I might hit this guy, this native, one time just to kind of break up all those dry months. And I got a bubbler right here. Check it out. This bubbler is a mushroom bubbler, so the water sprays out 360 degrees around this plastic emitter right here. And I put this in myself. So what I do is I twist this on, and I let the water squirt out in every direction. That's about 2 feet away from the trunk of the tree. And as this tree gets bigger and more mature and more dense, what I'll do is I'll keep pulling this emitter farther and farther away. So maybe like once a year, maybe once every 2 years, I'll dig down, I'll cut the pipe, and I'll pull this back a foot because I want to keep encouraging the root system of the tree to chase the water. If I water right against the trunk of the tree, then his roots won't ever be encouraged to grow out. And so I keep backing the water away as the tree matures so that the roots chase the water. That was a tip my mom gave me. My mom's a really good gardener. When I first began gardening, my mom had a couple of glasses of wine too many, and she started crying, and she was going, "Jacob, I just love that you garden. It's like a piece of me that's inside of you." She was so sentimental. But she told me, "But listen, Jacob, you're watering your plants right against the trunks. you gotta water it away from the trunks to encourage the roots to grow out, because as the root grows out toward the water, it'll make the plant on top much bigger, more bushy, and much more healthy. So a great tip from Mom. So that's a good tip for the natives. If you got 4 or 5 months of no water, you might want to give them one water to kind of help them along until the rains start again. So I'm going to keep that on for about, I would say 15-20 minutes. Let it flood the entire zone until it soaks down, and we'll go on to the next tree. I'll show you guys a different way that I water on the next tree. So next I want to show you guys my avocado tree, because it's a totally different animal than the ironwood tree is. The ironwood's native, it's tough, it takes the monsoon winds, rains, any season that Phoenix has to throw at it, it takes care of it. It's native. Avocado trees are not necessarily native, but this one's as close as you can get. It's an Aravaipa, and we call it an Arizona avocado because it comes from a mother tree that's been in Arizona for over 100 years. And this guy is in year 2 of being in the ground. He's already taken a couple winters, and he just got through his 2nd summer. He's doing very nicely. I also have a bubbler for this guy down here. Check it out. It's right here. And if I twist this guy on, it will put off that mushroom spray as well. The cool thing about this area is that this water hits the pineapple guava, called the feijoa, which is all this bush over here. It hits the avocado, which has got 2 parts. See the 2 parts right here? That's all avocado. And it also trickles down and hits this Bonanza miniature peach that I just planted about a year ago. So the Bonanza peach, the avocado, and the pineapple guava, and this pinto palm called a jelly palm that's right in front of the camera. You guys can see this jelly palm. They all take the water from this one mushroom bubbler. So this is pretty cool how I've got permaculture working where I've got 4 different trees sharing the water from one emitter, and they're all very healthy. Plus, trees like to be together. They like to share a microclimate. This avocado is giving some shade to the peach, and this pineapple guava helps to break a little bit of the wind from the avocado, and the pinto palm just enjoys the afternoon conversations that the pineapple guava and the avocado have. Okay, I got a lot of mulch down here on the ground, but what I find is that if I just run the tap water, which really has no filter on it, I'm relying on the microbes beneath the soil to take any kind of stuff that the city puts in this water. I need the microbes to filter it for me. So what I do is about once a week, I keep this off, and I'll grab my bucket right here, and I'll walk over to my pond, my fish pond. You guys can see all my koi right down here that are hanging out. What they're doing is they're getting excited because they're about to get fed, and they're pooping in the water. And all that fish poop is really good food for my trees. So I'll put this bucket in there, and then I'll scatter. And I'll fill up a whole bucket full of pond water, which kind of looks a little bit dingy colored. And about once a week, I'll put about 6 of these on the avocado tree. So I'll come right over here, and I'll pour it right into the root zone. So this water has been sitting in the pond. It's got a lot of fish stuff in it. It's also probably got all the chlorine and other crap cooked out because it's been sitting there for weeks and weeks. And so really healthy water to put in my avocado tree. So I want to give the trees a wide variety of watering techniques. I got the bubblers sometimes, and I've got the flood method with the buckets sometimes. So I kind of try to have an inconsistent water schedule where the tree never really knows what's coming. And I just feel that that is really healthy for the tree's overall growth and success. So I'm gonna put a few more of these buckets on right now, and then I'll bring you guys over to the next tree. It's gonna be a papaya tree and a mango, and I'll show you guys how I water those guys. Let's talk really quick frequency of water. This avocado tree is in the Phoenix area. So it needs more water than I would use if I was in Florida or California. So for me in the Phoenix area, I've been watering this guy every other day. So about 4 days a week throughout the entire hot months of the summertime. I have a second avocado in the other corner of the yard that has a totally different need for water. Okay, so I found out through watching this plant for the first year it was growing in the ground that it needs about water maybe once or twice a week in the winter and about every other day, about 4 times a week in the summertime. And sometimes I'll even go to Monday water, Tuesday water, Wednesday no water, Thursday water, Friday water, Saturday no water. I'll do 2 days on, 1 day off sometimes to kind of mix up the frequency and the schedule of the water. This tree over here is a brand new one. I just planted this tree and it's a dwarf Caracara navel orange. It'll be orange on the outside, but it'll be red on the inside, kind of cool, or like pinkish red. This guy also has a bubbler, so I could switch this bubbler on and that'll water this tree. But I'm gonna keep it off for the time being. Let's talk really quick about a new tree. If you're a beginner gardener, you're just planting a new tree, it's gonna need a lot more frequent water than a mature tree that's already established. So if you guys have a big tree like this poinciana, or like these mesquites behind me, or acacia willows, they don't need as much water because their roots can hold it for a long period of time. But this guy was in like a 2-gallon pot. He was very small, a small dwarf tree. And he is gonna dry out very quickly. So listen to me, when you hear most people say water slow and low, okay? That doesn't always apply to every fruit tree. A new tree like this does not need to be watered slow and deep or slow and low. It needs to be flooded frequently. And so I've been watering this guy about 5 times a week. I've been watering him Monday for about 5 or 10 minutes only. And then I water him Tuesday for about 5 or 10 minutes. Then I give him a break and no water on Wednesday. Then again, 5-10 minutes on Thursday, 5-10 minutes on Friday, then a break on Saturday. And as he starts to get all this new growth and he grows bigger, he doubles in size, what I'll do is I'll increase the amount of water and the time. Maybe I'll water him for 15 minutes, but I'll decrease the frequency. Maybe I'll water him just every other day, like Monday on, Tuesday off, Wednesday on, Thursday off. But now he'll get 10 minutes to 15 minutes of water per session. And eventually once he's this tall and he's putting off some good fruit, I may just water him once a week. But when I do water him for like 20 minutes. And so you gotta go into your yard and recognize what are the mature trees? What are the baby trees? Which ones are new? Which ones are established? And the established ones, water them deep and slow. And the new ones, water them a little less deep, but more frequently because they have not yet grown a root system that goes out very far. They need more frequent water. So this baby Caracara navel orange is getting less water, about 5 or 10 minutes per session, and about 5 days a week. And I can do it with the hose even. What I do is I take my hose, I love these flat heads that make a nice flat head of water come out like that. They're pretty cool. And also when I spray it in the pond, it makes the fish go crazy. You guys can see, they start dancing in the water. They think it's raining. They like it. It's kind of like fish babysitter. And what I'll do is I'll take the hose and I'll spray all the mulch around the root zone. I wet all that mulch down because as gardeners, we're trying to create an ecosystem for the bugs. We're trying to encourage worms, roly-polies, earwigs, maybe even some ants and grubs because they all play a role in making the soil really fertile. And whenever they poop and live, the tree eats up all those nutrients. Once I soak all the mulch for just a few seconds, then I'll turn it on a flow about this much, just about that much right there. And I'll put the water over here. I don't put it here because the tree will get too spoiled if the water's right against his root system. So I back the water to about here, and that way the water will go like this and trickle down into the root system and it will flood the entire zone. I'll leave that on for about 5 or 10 minutes and I'll shut it off. And let's right now go on to the next tree. I'll show you guys the other avocado tree I planted. It needs a completely different water schedule than this avocado. Let's go. This is the other Aravaipa Arizona avocado. I have 4 avocados here. 2 of them are the Aravaipas, and then I have a winter Mexican, and I have a Jim Bacon, okay? The Jim Bacon and the winter Mexican are B types, and the Aravaipas are A types. And this Aravaipa is doing really well, but he needed a completely different water schedule than his friend over there by the pond. Even though this mesquite tree on top, look how much shade it gives him. All this up here is like an incredibly shaded microclimate after like 11 a.m. in the morning time. So even though he has the shade and he has diffused light and he has wind protection from the mesquite tree and he has a ton of mulch, these blocks, not only do they protect the tree from the tortoise who lives back here, the dinosaur, his name is Leo, you guys know Leo. His nickname is the little bastard because if these blocks weren't here, he would mull this tree over with his shell. But I've filled up the inner part of these blocks with a ton of mulch, leftover moringa pods, straw, wood chips, even some like leftover loofah from years past, and it all makes up the little bit of the microclimate that helps to feed this avocado tree and make it thrive here in the desert. Because this tree's only 2 years old. So 2 years old and he's looking pretty good so far. He's getting beyond 10 feet tall, and I know that his growth rate will be much more substantial in the years to come. So here's how I'm watering this guy. I can use the bubbler, which I have there, but if you didn't have a bubbler and you only had the hose, what you can do is you can take your hose, which is back here. This avocado tree is off of budwood from an Arizona grown avocado tree that's been in the valley here for over 100 years, but it's not as native as like a mesquite or a palo verde or an ironwood. So I still turn on the hose and I wet down all the mulch. And that's giving a lot of life-giving moisture to the worms, the earwigs, the cockroaches, the roly-polies, and all the beneficial fungus that's underneath the soil. Then I can kind of see how the ground slopes this way. It kind of goes from me and it goes away from me that way. So I set the hose on a lower setting about like this much. See that? Just about like that much flow. That's not too bad. And I lay it about right there away from the trunk. And now this is going to drain all down toward the tree and it's going to fill the entire well and flood the entire root system. What I have figured out about this tree is that this tree is much more thirsty than the sister tree by the pond. The avocado tree by the pond needs water during the summertime, during the hot time of the season, about every other day. But this one needs water every day. So every morning at about 8 o'clock in the morning, I come out and I water them for about 20 minutes on about that rate of flow. And if I don't do that, what I've been seeing is that all the leaves droop. And if I water him about 20 minutes every morning, he stays perky and amazing, and he has all this new incredible growth that's coming off and looking really nice and healthy. So you guys, I wanted you to be inspired that every tree is different. You might have soil that's different than mine. You may have a tree that's different than mine. You may have a microclimate in your yard that's different than mine. So you have to be a little bit of a scientist and know that the tree needs water, it needs mulch, it needs some shade in the afternoon. But also be an artist. You gotta have a healthy marriage between scientist and artist, and together you have a very healthy tree. And I can't wait to come to you guys next year when these avocados begin to flower and fruit, and I'll eat some Aravaipa avocados on camera right in front of you guys. Now behind this guy are the dragon fruit, and this dragon fruit, I've been growing it for about 2.5, almost 3 years. And he just started to flower. You guys can see this is the first ever dragon fruit flower that I've had off these dragon fruit cuttings. I started with just one piece of each cactus. There's 3 of them back there, and it's grown into this mob of dragon fruit. It loves the shade, and it has an incredible flower. It's gonna open up any day now that I'll film for you guys. If you guys click the link on the screen right now, I'll have a video where you can see the flower when it opens up. And I gotta hand pollinize that guy when he's ready. Now back there are where all the roots are, back in there, behind those logs. So what I'll do about, maybe about 2 times a week, maybe even sometimes 3 times a week in the summertime when it's super hot, is I'll just spray against the wall. And all that water will hit the wall and drain down into the root system. And probably just about like 2 or 3 minutes, nothing too crazy, just 2 or 3 minutes of water back there. And that's enough about twice a week during the hot, hot summer months. I would say only once every 10 days is necessary during the winter months, maybe even once every 2 weeks. but it's still October. It's still 96 degrees today in Phoenix. And so I'm still doing this about twice a week. And that's enough water to keep that guy happy and healthy and growing like crazy. We're here in the main garden center. We have a raised bed here, and this one is filled with soil. It's been growing for about 4 years, and it's doing really well. Everything I put in this bed grows really nicely. But it's the new season. The fall season is my favorite season in the Phoenix area to grow my fall and winter garden, because everything just grows so well here in the fall and the winter. So I've got a fresh layer of coconut coir and compost and worm castings and the azomite rock dust minerals on top of this. And I just threw down a bunch of seeds. And so there's a whole new crop of seeds that I've already laid on the top. And I've already kind of mixed them with my hand, kind of like this. They were small seeds, like little kale seeds. I have an irrigation system on this raised bed, but I'm not going to use it when I put the fresh seeds down, because the seeds need to be sprayed uniformly across the top of the entire raised bed. So what I do is I take my hose when I first put down brand new seeds, and I love these flat hoses because they put a nice uniform spray of water on top of the soil. And what I'll do is I'll come out here about 4 times a day, in the morning, at about noon, at about 2, and at about 4 or 5 o'clock, 4 times a day. And I'll just do about this much watering on top of the soil to spray those seeds. In a couple of days, I'll start seeing the little sprouts, and all the seeds will germinate. And once they get about, I would say about 3 or 4 inches tall, and they become plants, I'll then stop watering with the hose and I'll turn on the irrigation system, and that will be enough to drip, 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 and hit the roots of each plant. So again, since the seeds are babies, you gotta give them less water, but more frequently. Just like if you guys have a baby in your family, a little infant human, you guys can't feed that baby as much as an adult eats. You know, we could eat 2 or 3 times a day, big meals, and be totally happy, but a baby can't. A baby has to eat less, a baby more frequently throughout the day, and seeds and baby trees are the exact same thing. If you come over here to this raised bed, I've got a bunch of mint all growing in this raised bed because it's kind of invasive, and so it's contained in this raised bed here. And this mint, I never have to water with the hose because I have a irrigation system that waters the mint below the canopy of the greens, right against the soil. And my irrigation system is a 1/4 inch poly line, and it looks just like this. The cool thing about this irrigation line is that it's pretty cheap. I get it from a local company in town called Sprinkler World, and it's got an emitter every 6 inches. There's an emitter there, an emitter there, and an emitter there. And now that I've turned on the irrigation system, you can see how it's dripping at about that rate of flow. Drip, 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 drip. And I'll leave this on in my garden for about 15 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, depending on what the weather is that day. And I'll do it in the morning around 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'll do it again around 1 p.m. And that's it, twice a day. I have this thing run for about 10 or 15 minutes twice a day at about 8 a.m. and about 1 p.m. And I have a lot of worm castings and compost and coconut coir, a lot of coconut coir, because that's the moisture amendment that keeps the moisture in the soil. And I have also azomite rock dust minerals, and that enables me to get away with only twice a day when it's 115, 120 degrees outside, because my soil holds moisture really, really well. Here's how it looks like. That's what my soil looks like in there. Look at how there's not a lot of wood chippiness. It's just like really broken down. It almost looks like pure worm castings or coffee grounds or something. And the smell, there's no smell of manures. It just smells like, you ever gone backpacking or hiking in the forest when it rains? It smells like that. Like a forest rain. New Cologne by Jake Mace for men. Forest rain. Calvin Klein, I copyrighted it already. All right, so that's how my raised bed garden irrigation system works for established plants. Right now, all this basil back here, lemon basil and cinnamon basil and holy basil and Thai basil and sweet basil and serrated basil, it's all being watered with this drip system because the plants are mature. And I've even got some tomatillos coming up here as volunteers on their own, and they'll be going all fall and winter long. And the last thing I want to show you guys for this video are these date palms. I got these new date palms. This one's a China Ranch Gold. And this one's a China Ranch Black. And this one's a Black Sphinx, which is one of the unique varieties from the Phoenix area. And these 3 date palms also need water. They're not like normal fan palms. See those palms way up in the sky over there, or over there above the mulberry? Those are the fan palms. They can handle the Phoenix native rain pretty well. But these date palms need more water, especially when they're babies and especially in the summer season. You can water them too much in the winter. Yes, you can. But in the summertime, you pretty much cannot. So what I had somebody tell me who's a date expert from Death Valley, from the China Date Ranch, they told me that they water their date palms every single day during the summer months when it's hot, because they double their growth. They put off flushes of incredible growth, especially when they're young, getting established. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking this Black Sphinx, I'm again wetting down the mulch a little bit, and then I'm putting the water at about this rate of flow right here, about that far from the trunk, and I kind of like nestle it down in the wood chips, and I let it fill up the whole root zone. And what I have found is that the China Date Ranch was correct, that this summer I have about 15 or 16 date palms here at my property, and they grew great all through the summer because I watered them every day from about end of May until about now. And now I'll start to back it off about 4 times a week, and then I'll back it off to about 2 times a week, and so on as it gets colder and colder. But I'm really careful for the date palms. I don't water the leaves or inside the hair because I've heard that that could rot the palm. So I don't spray up here. I only water in the roots, and I found that's a great schedule for the date palm. So pretty much this video today is built to kind of show you guys what I'm doing here at Longevity Gardens to make my garden and my fruit trees successful. And water is a very important part of that. But again, it's a balance between the science of watering and the artistry of watering, okay? Got to be a little bit of an artist and a little bit of an engineer when it comes to good watering. Know your yard, know your microclimates, know your soil, and know your trees and your plants, okay? And water each one a little bit differently as they need it. You guys saw today is that the exact same avocado tree needs different water schedule depending on which tree it is and what part of the yard it's growing in. Okay, so take that knowledge back with you guys to your garden, and hopefully it'll make you a much better gardener. I want you guys to go online right now and go to Facebook and join my Urban Gardening in Arizona Facebook group. Check this out. One of my favorite trees right now is this carob tree. Female fruiting carob going great. And since it's a little more mature, only about a once a week water. And this is also a cool one called a neem tree. It's growing really well. And if you guys get back over there, you'll see how this neem just put off a crazy flush of growth, vertical, right up in the air. Look at it. It's reaching for the sky. It's saying, Elon Musk, SpaceX, take me to Mars. It's reaching up there. Thanks guys for watching, and thank you for your interest in gardening. I think that growing your own food at home is extremely powerful, especially in the digital age. It's gonna keep you healthy. It's gonna keep you mentally fit because you'll have a hobby to put your energy into. And it's also gonna enable you to eat food in its ripe, nutrient-dense state. So I'm Jake May signing off. Go vegan and grow your food at home, and I'll see you guys back here next time.